One of the most important issues in groups is the ability of groups to remain united and members to obey what the group requires. Because without that unity and obedience in groups, it is difficult for groups to sustain itself and also achieve its goals. In our discussion today, we want to look at what is called conformity in groups. Conformity in the context of what it means, the various types, and what factors determines whether members of the group conform or not. It is an important area in the study of group and group dynamics because groups that succeed have a high tendency of conformity, while those that fail to succeed in the pursuit of the objectives are known not to conform, members not to conform to group goals, group leadership, and other aspects of groups. So here we want to look at group conformity as an important area in the study of group dynamics. Let us start by understanding what is meant by conformity. And conformity has been described in various ways. So we want to look at some of the ways on how conformity as a concept in the study of groups and group dynamics has been defined. First, conformity refers to the process whereby people change their beliefs, attitudes, actions, or perceptions to more closely match those held by groups to which they belong or want to belong. But conformity is also understood as a tendency for an individual to align their attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors with those of the people around them. The concept or the term also refers to a type of social influence in which individuals change their attitudes and behaviors in order to adhere to existing social norms. Conformity, which involves a change in the common belief or behavior of a person or group of people to fit in a demographic, is normally in response to perceived societal pressure or the physical presence of other people. Notwithstanding the different definitions, what comes out clearly is that when you talk about conformity, it simply means the decision by an individual to change his or her behaviors and attitudes in order for him to fit in a group that he is in or he or she is intending to join. That is, people change their behavior in response to the demands of a group that they intend to join, because doing so enhances their acceptance in such particular groups. Otherwise, it is difficult for a group to accommodate an individual whose behavior and attitude drastically or radically contradicts those of the group that he or she belongs or those that he or she intends to join. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, when a person feels that his attitudes and behaviors no longer fits those of the group, the noble thing that most people do is to quit the group, because the group no longer fits he no longer believes in the beliefs, the attitudes and actions of a given group that he or she belongs. In that case, therefore, an individual is expected to cease his or her membership of the group based on the fact that their aspirations, their attitudes, and other things are not in tandem with that to which the group that he is or he intends to join belong. Let us now look at some of the types of conformity that are found in groups. One of the type of conformity is called compliance. By compliance, we mean an outward behavior in which a person goes along with the attitudes and viewpoints of the majority in order to be socially accepted. It occurs when an individual accepts influence because he hopes to achieve a favorable reaction from another person or group. An individual adopts the behavior of the group because he or she expects to gain specific rewards or approval and avoid specific punishment or disapproval. In this type of conformity, an individual publicly accepts the views of a group but privately rejects them. It also refers to changing behavior to gain a reward or avoid punishment. Take the case of a political party. A member, for instance, of a political party may participate in party meetings such as rallies or public demonstrations organized and convened by his or her political parties. And the purpose or the reason for participating in such rallies is because the individual wants to be seen to be a strong supporter or a staunch supporter of that particular political rally. However, in private, the individual has a totally different perception of what these rallies are and is constantly ensuring that he or she does not spread the ideas and slogans of the party at private level. So the entire aim here is to show publicly that he belongs to a given cause being pursued by a political party, but in private, the individual does not completely subscribe to the ideals and aspirations of that particular political party. That is one case in which compliance applies. In other words, when we talk of compliance as a form of conformity, what we mean is that an individual publicly accepts to obey and follow the rules of a given group, but privately disagrees with the ideas and the ideals or the activities of that particular group. So compliance can be seen as a form of public conformity to a group, but privately the individual has a totally different view and perception of what he or she supports publicly. The other type of conformity is called internalization. This occurs when an individual accepts influence of the group because the content of the induced behavior, that is, the ideas and actions of members of the group, are rewarding to him. And it implies that an individual publicly changes their behavior to fit in with the behavior of the group, while also agreeing with the group privately. It is considered as the deepest level of conformity where the beliefs of the group become part of the individual's own belief systems. This type of conformity results in permanent change of behavior and occurs when the majority of group members have greater knowledge and members of the minority have little knowledge to challenge the majority position. Internalization may be indicated by individuals holding life membership, inscribing tattoos of the group on their bodies, being in possession of group artifacts, among others. For instance, a political party like Kano was quite powerful from independence until early 2000. Since then, the party has become moribund, has faced a lot of leadership wrangles, and barely wins sufficient seats at both local and national levels. But there are still people who have been members of KANU since 1970s, and they have remained members as so. They swore to be life members of KANU and indicated that they will never join any other political party other than KANU. They are in KANU to stay, and they will die in KANU. Such level of conformity is what we call internalization. These individuals, both publicly and privately, expresses their desire, satisfaction, and pride by being members of KANU. You will find them donning KANU colors to date, representing KANUs in meeting, and also privately doing a lot of things that go in helping the party KANU. There are also instances where individuals have made tattoos in their bodies to reflect their affiliation to particular groups. It could be a prescribed group or a proscribed group, but nonetheless, the individual wants to show pride and commitment to a given group by inscribing certain tattoos in their bodies. So when such things happen, it means that these individuals are deeply rooted. They are deeply connected to the groups that they want to display certain things about. And that form of conformity is what we call internalization. The other type of conformity is called informational conformity. And informational conformity refers to the change in opinions or behavior when one believes that the group has accurate information about a particular issue of interest. It occurs when individuals rely on trusted members of a group to arrive at conclusions about what is true, what action to take, or what opinion to have about any given issue. In this case, the conformist is looking to the group for information and direction, especially in cases where a person lacks knowledge. It is normally the end result of social comparison, whereby we compare our opinions with those of others to gain an accurate appraisal of the validity of an opinion or behavior. This type of conformity may lead to real, long-lasting, and real change in opinions on the part of the individual. Simply put, when you talk about information conformity, it is conformity that is based or driven by the fact that individuals want to follow group norms because they believe that that group has accurate information that he or she might need from time to time. This one is largely found among professional associations. For instance, doctors association, teachers association, and others. People believe that by belonging to those groups, then an individual stands a better chance of understanding or gaining knowledge about professional issues within his or her field. Therefore, people's behavior and attitude towards the group is largely influenced by the need for accurate information, reliable information, and also from the fact that certain people within that group are better placed to advise in terms of the kind of information that the person might need to undertake certain tasks. So conformity in such groups is based on the fact that there is possession of good information, of useful information in the group that the individual cannot get elsewhere. Therefore, the individual strives to remain obedient and to follow what the group requires because he or she believes that by being close to the group and by obeying and following what the group needs, he or she stands a better chance of getting accurate information, unlike when he or she were not to be part of that particular group. The other type of conformity that is found in groups is called identification. Identification refers to a situation whereby an individual conforms to the group because he or she wants to establish or maintain a satisfying, self-defined relationship to another person in the group. Basically, it involves changing behavior because people want to align their identity with the rest, with the members of a certain group. For instance, individuals conform to the expectations of social roles, such as occupational dressing, eating habit, body image, communication style, among others, as a means of fitting into the group norms. It is important to note that in identification, people change their public behaviors and private beliefs, but only while in the presence of the group they are identifying with. Take, for instance, the police force. Security agents are required to dress in a particular manner, shave in a particular manner, and also do certain things in a given manner. The reason why they have to respond to that is because they want to identify with other groups within the police force. And in doing so, their admission and their acceptance in the group persists. Again, if you are someone who is doing modeling, say a lady, and there are certain eating habits that models are required to observe, certain dressing, certain styles that models are required to observe, then as long as one wants to remain a model, then you must observe those eating habits. You must observe your weight, you must observe your body growth, among other things. All this is being done by individuals in a bid to conform and be part of that modeling. So in so many areas, that is a strategy that people use. If you want to be a bodybuilder, for instance, you have to build your muscles. You must amass muscles because that is what gives you the identity to be part and parcel of such a group. So when you talk about identification, we simply mean the desire by an individual to behave in a way that fits within the normative behavior of individuals in that particular group. I want now to invite you into a discussion on the determinants of group conformity. And one of them is called cohesiveness. Cohesiveness is defined as the degree of attraction felt by members towards some group. There is great tendency for people to be attracted to groups where the level of cohesion is high. The pressure to conform is high in groups where cohesiveness is high, and it is low in groups where cohesiveness is low. Therefore, individuals' conformity to groups, barring other factors, is influenced by the level of cohesiveness in group. That is, the higher the level of cohesiveness, the higher the level of conformity. And the lower the level of cohesiveness, the lower the level of conformity. So cohesion in a group is an important factor. Perhaps the belief is that a group that is cohesive has a better chance of succeeding in its pursuits. Otherwise, a group that has division, either in terms of factionalism or among other things, may find it difficult to achieve its objectives. So probably the reason why people conform to groups that have high cohesion is the fact that there are less conflicts, and again, they have a better chance of succeeding in pursuit of the objectives. Indeed, we must recognize the fact that there are reasons why individuals join groups. People join groups because of certain interests and certain objectives that they share with the group. And therefore, if a group has a higher chance of succeeding in pursuit of its objectives, then it's likely to become more attractive to members. And therefore, if cohesion can make a group succeed in its pursuits, then it is possible that it might be an important source of motivation for members to join the group and also remain rather conform to the group norms and group values. The other factor that determines the level of group conformity is group pressure. By group pressure, we refer to any direct or indirect social pressure that is exerted by a group on its individual members to influence their choices and perspectives. Group pressure may take different forms, such as bullying, persuasion, teasing, criticism, and even rational argument. Pressure from groups often leads people to conform with those around them, sometimes even if it is in conflict with their personal goals or beliefs. For instance, if you're a member of a political party and you are seen not to be committed to that party, some party members might decide to ridicule the individual and even purport or present the image that the person belongs to a different political party, and even go ahead to insinuate perhaps that the individual wants to belong to a given party because of material benefit. So such ridicule can actually limit the level of interaction an individual might want to interact with outside groups. So in that case, the individual finds himself coined to the group, rather confined to the group, so as to avoid such ridicule. Sometimes persuasion, sometimes individuals are simply persuaded to remain in the group by rationally explaining to them the benefits that they stand, rather what they stand to gain by conforming to the group. Otherwise, pressure can come in many forms, more than the ones that I've highlighted here. So where pressure is sufficient and is a positive pressure, there is a tendency that members, the level of conformity could be high. But where pressure is low, or it is present but highly negative, again, it might encourage rebellion. And where members rebel, then it may lead to lower level of conformity in the group. That may determine the level of conformity in the group is cultural ideology. By cultural ideology, we mean a set of ideas, values, and beliefs that's accepted by society, a class, or some other socially significant group of people. There are two dominant forms of cultural ideology, namely individualism and collectivism. Individualism emphasizes the rights of individuals over groups, while collectivism emphasizes the group rights over individual rights, with people from such cultures more likely to conform to social expectations. In collectivist cultures, people are often more likely to conform to social expectations, with those from individualistic cultures less likely to conform. I need to observe here that where collectivism is practiced, that cultural environment in itself encourages individuals to adhere to group norms. And if that becomes part and parcel of individual socialization as they grow, then such individuals stand a better chance to conform to any group that they join, because it has been part and parcel of their socialization throughout childhood. Otherwise, individualistic societies encourage independence. It encourages independence, and it also encourages individual rights over group rights. Individuals that are brought up in individualistic societies, they are likely to be independent, they are likely to rebel, and therefore such rebellion and independence might undermine their level of conformity in groups that they may join. So that it is possible that individuals that are from people that are from individualistic societies are less likely to conform compared to their counterparts who are from collectivist societies. This is, of course, if other factors remain constant. Otherwise, cultural ideology has a significant bearing on the extent to which individuals conform or not conform to the group. The other factor that may influence or that determines conformity in groups is personality of the individuals. It has been known that individual factors such as a person's overall personality and goals in life can affect the degree to which they conform in groups. Characteristics of an individual, such as the position of the individual within a group, may play a role as well. Individuals who have a low status within a group or are unfamiliar with a particular situation are the ones most likely to conform. Personality traits such as concern with being liked or the desire to be right also play a major role. So the extent to which individuals conform or not conform to the group is also influenced by the personality. And indeed, there are individuals that are easily obedient because of their personality. There are those that are naturally rebellious, again, because of their personality. But again, we're saying that the role that the person plays in the group might also determine whether or not he conforms. People who have important and significant roles in the group and their role are appreciated by members of the group stand a better chance of conforming compared to their counterparts that play a lesser role, and in which case, majority of the group members do not appreciate the role they play in those groups. Such individuals may not find it easy to conform to the group because of the incentive to conform is quite less compared to those who play significant roles and whose members and where their members of the group highly appreciate their contribution to the group. At that point, we come to the end of our discussion, and I want to thank all the students for listening, and I want advise that any person that has any issue to raise, kindly note it down so that we can have a look at it when we have our normal lecture discussions. Thank you.